You're not a father anymore. We're moving to California with Mark, and the courts will make sure you never see your kids again." The text message arrived at 2:30 a.m., just as I finished my night shift as a security consultant at the VA hospital in Richmond, Virginia. My name is Daniel Reese, a 49-year-old Army veteran who'd spent the last 2 decades protecting others, only to find myself fighting for my own family. The fluorescent lights of the hospital corridor seemed to blur as I stared at my phone screen. Sarah, my wife of 16 years, had never been this direct before. Our marriage had been a delicate balance of my military service, her teaching career, and raising our 2 children, Emma, 14, and Jack, 11. I'd thought we were a typical suburban family, our brick colonial in Mechanicsville, the kids' soccer, games, family dinners when my consulting work allowed. My military background had taught me to read between the lines, to understand what wasn't being said. Sarah had been distant for months. Shorter phone calls, less enthusiasm when I came home, mysterious late-night conversations she'd take in the other room. I'd dismissed it as the stress of her job as a high school counselor, the challenges of managing our kids' increasingly complex schedules. 3 months ago, things had started to change subtly. Sarah began taking more weekend trips to visit her sister in Norfolk. The kids seemed quieter when I called home during my night shifts. Emma, typically chatty about her volleyball tournaments, gave me one-word responses. Jack stopped sending me the detailed Minecraft screenshots he used to share every week. The text message was just the beginning. Within minutes, another message came through, a screenshot of our joint bank account, 0 balance. The $78,000 we'd saved for the kids' college fund, gone. Sarah had always managed our finances, something I'd trusted her with completely. My military pension, my consulting income, all funneled through accounts she controlled. I didn't react, didn't throw the phone, didn't punch the wall. Years of military training had taught me that emotional outbursts solve nothing. I finished my shift, completed the required paperwork, and drove home in the pre-dawn silence. The world around me felt like it was happening in slow motion. My military record was impeccable. 2 tours in Afghanistan, multiple commendations, a Bronze Star for valor. I'd protected entire communities, negotiated with local leaders, saved lives. And now I was being systematically erased from my own family's life. The irony wasn't lost on me. When I arrived home that morning, the house felt different, empty. Personal items were missing, family photos, the kids' artwork that usually decorated the refrigerator. Sarah's car was gone. A moving truck had clearly been here recently. Muddy tire tracks marked the driveway I'd personally repaved 2 summers ago. My phone rang. It was my brother, Michael, a civilian lawyer in Richmond. "Dan, Harold next door called me. Wanted me to know what's happening." Michael's voice was calm, professional. He'd always been the measured one in our family. "Sarah filed for full custody. She's claiming you're an unstable veteran who poses a risk to the children." The accusation was laughable. My entire post-military career had been dedicated to supporting veterans' mental health. After leaving active duty, I'd transitioned to hospital security, specifically working with veteran support programs. I'd counseled dozens of soldiers struggling with PTSD, helped them rebuild their lives. And now, the very system I'd dedicated my life to supporting was being weaponized against me. Michael continued, "There's more. She's listed a new partner on the custody documents, Mark Thompson. He's a local real estate developer. Apparently they've already put a deposit on a house in San Diego." The pieces were starting to come together. The late-night calls, the weekend, trips, the growing distance. I walked through the house, touching the empty spaces where memories used to live. Emma's volleyball trophies were gone. Jack's science fair awards vanished. The wooden chest I'd crafted for Emma when she was born, a project I'd worked on during my last deployment, missing. These weren't just objects. They were physical representations of my relationship with my children. My military training had always been about preparation, about understanding the full landscape before making a move. Something told me this wasn't just about a marriage falling apart. This was a calculated dismantling of everything I'd built, everything I loved. I opened my laptop and began to compile information. Bank statements, text message records, communication logs. If Sarah thought she could erase me from my children's lives, she was about to learn that a veteran doesn't surrender without a fight. The first rays of morning sunlight filtered through the kitchen window, the same window where we'd shared countless family breakfasts. Now it illuminated an empty room, a testament to the life that was being stolen from me. But I wasn't beaten, not even close. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Sarah. "Don't try to contact the kids. Our lawyer will be in touch." I saved the message. Every piece of evidence would count. In the military, we understood that intelligence was the most powerful weapon, and I was about to wage a war for my family. Michael arrived at my house the next morning, a thick manila folder tucked under his arm. As a civilian lawyer specializing in family law, he'd seen his share of messy divorces. But something about this case made his jaw set with a particular intensity. We sat in the kitchen, the same space that had once echoed with family laughter, now silent and clinical. "We need to build a comprehensive case," Michael began, spreading documents across the table. "Sarah's claim of you being an unstable veteran is calculated. She's banking on the stigma that veterans struggle with mental health." He pulled out several documents, my military service records, commendations, my current work with veteran support programs. I learned the full extent of Sarah's strategy that morning. She'd been systematically preparing her exit for months. Bank accounts had been drained, our joint investments liquidated. Mark Thompson, her new partner, wasn't just a real estate developer. He was a calculated opportunist with a history of relationship entanglements. My brother's research revealed a pattern. Thompson had been involved in at least 2 previous high-profile divorces, always positioning himself to benefit financially. He seemed to target professionals, teachers, healthcare workers, military personnel, with stable incomes and assets. Sarah wasn't his first victim, and likely wouldn't be his last. The most painful revelation came from Emma's best friend's mother. She'd overheard conversations at a local coffee shop where Sarah had been discussing their plan. "The kids don't know the full story," the woman told Michael. "They think you've been distant, that you don't care." It was a carefully constructed narrative, designed to turn my own children against me. My military training kicked in. Information was power. I began systematically documenting everything. Phone records showed Sarah's increasing communication with Thompson over the past 8 months. Credit card statements revealed secret trips, hotel bookings, careful financial maneuvering. Each document was a piece of a larger puzzle. Harold, my neighbor, became an unexpected ally, a retired detective. He'd been observing the unusual activity at my house. "They've been moving things out at night," he told me. "I've been taking photos, keeping a log." His meticulousness matched my own military precision. Security camera footage, timestamps, vehicle descriptions. Harold had collected everything. The most critical piece of evidence came from an unexpected source. Jack's school counselor, who had worked with me on veteran support programs, reached out privately. "Something doesn't feel right about the story being told," she said. "The kids are struggling more than they're letting on." She provided subtle documentation of the emotional impact on Emma and Jack. Michael discovered that Thompson had a previous legal history. 3 years ago, he'd been involved in a complex divorce case with significant financial settlements. A pattern was emerging, a systematic approach to dismantling families for financial gain. Sarah wasn't just leaving me, she was part of a calculated plan. Our strategy began to take shape. We would need to prove several key points: Sarah's premeditated plan, Thompson's manipulative history, and most importantly, the emotional manipulation of our children. Each piece of evidence was carefully catalogued, cross-referenced, prepared for potential legal challenge. The VA hospital where I worked became another source of support. My colleagues, many of them veterans themselves, began gathering character references. My work with veteran mental health programs, my consistent record of support and stability, would be crucial in challenging Sarah's claims. Emma's volleyball coach provided unexpected testimony. Daniel has never missed a significant event, he told Michael. Even when deployed, he'd find ways to video call to show support. It was a small detail, but one that contradicted the narrative of an absent father. As we compiled information, a clearer picture emerged. This wasn't just a divorce. This was a calculated extraction, a systematic dismantling of our family unit. Sarah and Thompson had planned every move, believing they could erase me completely. But they didn't understand one fundamental truth about veterans. We're trained to adapt. We're trained to overcome. We're trained to fight when everything seems lost. By the end of the week, we had a comprehensive dossier. Bank records, communication logs, testimonies, photographic evidence. Each document was a weapon, each piece of information a strategic asset. Sarah and Thompson had thought they were playing a game of chess. They were about to learn I'd been trained in a different kind of warfare. My phone rang. It was the school principal. "Mr. Reese, we need to discuss something important about Emma and Jack." The next phase of our battle was about to begin. And I was ready. The school principal's office was neutral ground, but nothing about this meeting felt neutral. Sitting across from Dr. Patterson, I realized this was more than a routine conversation. Emma and Jack's academic records, their emotional well-being, their entire future hung in the balance. "The children are struggling," Dr. Patterson began, her voice measured. "Emma's grades have dropped dramatically. Jack has become withdrawn. Our counseling team is concerned." She slid a folder across the desk, documented behavioral changes, counselor notes, subtle signs of emotional distress that only trained professionals could fully interpret. The most revealing information came unexpectedly. Jack had been leaving coded messages in his school assignments. A research paper about family dynamics contained subtle references that suggested he was reaching out, hoping someone would understand the complexity of his situation. Emma's art portfolio told a similar story. Images of fractured families, landscapes of isolation, paintings that screamed of unspoken pain. Michael and I began a meticulous preparation. We assembled a team of experts, child psychologists specializing in divorce trauma, veteran family support counselors, and legal specialists who understood the nuanced world of military family law. Each expert brought a unique perspective to our strategy. Dr. Rebecca Chen, a renowned child psychologist who had worked extensively with military families, became our secret weapon. "Parental alienation is a complex form of emotional abuse," she explained during our first strategy meeting. "In military families, the additional stress of deployment and reintegration makes these dynamics even more challenging." Our investigation into Mark Thompson deepened. Michael uncovered a troubling pattern. Thompson had been involved in 3 previous divorces, each ending with significant financial settlements. He targeted professional women, teachers, nurses, now a school counselor. Each relationship followed a similar trajectory: quick courtship, rapid relocation, financial extraction. Financial forensics became our primary tool. We traced money transfers, analyzed hidden accounts, documented Sarah's systematic financial dismantling of our shared assets. Thompson had a network of real estate connections, shell companies that made tracking money difficult, but military intelligence had taught me patience. My VA network became an unexpected source of support. Veterans from my unit, colleagues who understood the meaning of brotherhood, began providing discreet support. Some offered legal advice, others character references. Each piece of information was carefully collected, verified, strategically positioned. Harold, my retired detective neighbor, continued his meticulous documentation. He provided time-stamped photos of moving trucks, recorded conversations overheard. Near my property, detailed logs of suspicious activities. His precision rivaled any military intelligence operation. We discovered a critical piece of information about Thompson's background. A previous business partner had filed a lawsuit alleging fraud, though the case had been settled out of court. Financial records showed a pattern of questionable transactions, carefully hidden behind layers of corporate structures. Child custody laws in Virginia became our battlefield. We began preparing documentation that would challenge Sarah's narrative. Every email, every text message, every financial record was carefully archived. My consistent record of communication with the children, even during challenging times, would be crucial. Dr. Chen helped us understand the psychological impact on Emma and Jack. Children in these situations often feel torn, she explained. They're experiencing a form of emotional manipulation that can have long-lasting consequences. Her expert testimony would be critical in our legal strategy. My military training became our greatest asset. Just as I'd planned complex missions in Afghanistan, we now planned a legal and emotional rescue mission for my children. Each move was calculated, each piece of evidence carefully positioned. Michael discovered that Sarah had already enrolled the children in schools in San Diego, a move that violated our current custody agreement. This became another strategic point in our legal challenge. Thompson's real estate connections had facilitated a rapid relocation plan. We began building a comprehensive portfolio. School records showing my consistent involvement. Testimonies from coaches, teachers, family friends, financial records demonstrating my consistent support, documented communications with the children during periods of separation. The VA hospital where I worked provided additional support. My supervisors and colleagues prepared detailed character references. My work supporting veteran mental health became a powerful counter-narrative to Sarah's claims of instability. As we prepared, I realized this was more than a legal battle. This was a fight for my children's emotional well-being. Every document, every testimony was a lifeline, a way to show Emma and Jack that they were loved, that they had not been abandoned. Our strategy was taking shape. We weren't just preparing to fight. We were preparing to heal, to reconnect, to show my children that a father's love is unbreakable, regardless of the challenges. The final pieces were falling into place, and we were ready for the next phase of our battle. The courtroom felt like another battlefield, one where words were weapons and evidence was ammunition. I sat beside Michael, my military dress blues pressed and immaculate, a deliberate choice to counter Sarah's narrative of an unstable veteran. The preliminary hearing would set the stage for our full custody battle. Judge Elizabeth Hartman was known for her no-nonsense approach to family law. A former military spouse herself, she had little patience for manipulation or half-truths. Sarah's lawyer, Richard Brennan, was a shark in an expensive suit, but I'd faced more intimidating opponents in combat zones. Sarah entered the courtroom with Mark Thompson by her side, their body language carefully choreographed. She wore a conservative blue dress, looking every bit the concerned mother. Thompson sat slightly behind her, a calculated positioning meant to appear supportive yet deferential. Michael's opening statement was surgical. "Your Honor, this is not a simple divorce case. This is a calculated dismantling of a family, orchestrated by my client's wife and her new partner, with a documented pattern of financial and emotional manipulation." He presented a timeline of events, bank transfers, communication logs that painted a clear picture of premeditation. The first shock came when Dr. Rebecca Chen took the stand. Her expert testimony destroyed Sarah's narrative of my supposed instability. Mr. Rees has demonstrated consistent, excellent mental health support both professionally and personally, she stated. His work with veteran mental health programs, his documented communication with his children, and his psychological evaluations all demonstrate a stable, engaged father. Emails I'd sent to Emma's teachers, video calls logged during my deployments, detailed records of birthday gifts and school, event support. Each piece of evidence contradicted Sarah's claims of paternal absence. Michael had meticulously constructed a narrative of a devoted father, systematically pushed out of his children's lives. The financial forensics became our most potent weapon. Detailed bank records showed Sarah's methodical draining of our joint accounts. Transfers to Mark Thompson's businesses, hidden accounts, suspicious real estate transactions. A pattern of financial extraction emerged. Harold's documentation proved crucial. His detailed logs, time-stamped photographs, and recorded conversations provided independent verification of the events leading to our separation. A retired detective's precision met military-level documentation. Thompson's past became a critical point of discussion. Michael introduced evidence of his previous relationship patterns, multiple divorces, financial settlements, a history of targeting professional women. Each revelation chipped away at the carefully constructed image of a supportive new partner. The most powerful moment came unexpectedly. Jack's school counselor testified about his recent behavior. The child has been leaving subtle messages in his schoolwork, she explained. Coded communications that suggest he's struggling with the separation, hoping someone would understand his true feelings. Emma's volleyball coach provided additional testimony about my consistent support. Even during deployments, Mr. Rees found ways to be present, video calls before matches, care packages, constant communication. The narrative of an absent father crumbled. Sarah's lawyer attempted to paint me as a volatile veteran, but Michael was prepared. Psychological evaluations, VA hospital records, testimonies from my colleagues. Each document reinforced my stability and commitment to mental health. The courtroom felt like a battlefield of a different kind. Each piece of evidence was a strategic strike, each testimony a calculated maneuver. Sarah and Thompson had believed they could simply erase me from my children's lives. They were about to learn the true meaning of fighting for family. Judge Hartman's questions were pointed, precise. She dissected each claim, each piece of evidence with the skill of a surgeon. "Mr. Thompson," she asked at one point, "can you explain these financial transfers, these repeated patterns of relocation and financial extraction?" Thompson's composure began to crack. His carefully constructed facade of respectability started to show fractures. The more he tried to explain, the more suspicious his actions appeared. Sarah's own communications became her undoing. Text messages, emails, financial records, each piece of evidence revealed a calculated plan of separation and extraction. The court saw not a concerned mother, but a strategic operator, intent on dismantling our family. Michael's final argument was a masterpiece of legal strategy. "This is not about a divorce," he stated. "This is about a systematic attempt to erase a father from his children's lives, to manipulate, to extract, to destroy a family unit." As the first hearing concluded, I could see the shift in the courtroom's dynamics. Judge Hartman's expression suggested she saw through the carefully constructed narrative. Sarah and Thompson exchanged worried glances. The battle was far from over. But for the first time, I saw a path forward, a way to reconnect with my children, to show them the truth, to fight for our family. Outside the courtroom, Michael turned to me. "We've made our first significant breakthrough," he said. "This is just the beginning." The next hearing was scheduled 3 weeks later, but the real battle was happening beneath the surface. Dr. Rebecca Chen had developed a carefully orchestrated plan to reconnect with Emma and Jack. Our approach wasn't about legal maneuvers anymore. It was about healing, about understanding. A breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Jack's school counselor discovered a series of coded messages in his recent assignments, complex mathematical equations that, when decoded, revealed a cry for help. "Dad, I miss you. Something feels wrong," one message read. It was evidence of a child's emotional complexity, a silent communication that bypassed Sarah's carefully constructed barriers. Michael uncovered additional information about Mark Thompson that would become our most powerful weapon. A previous business partner had filed a lawsuit alleging fraudulent financial practices. The case had been settled out of court, but the documentation painted a damning picture. Thompson wasn't just a real estate developer, he was a serial opportunist. With a history of financial manipulation, bank records told a more intricate story. Since moving to San Diego, Thompson and Sarah had been rapidly liquidating assets. Real estate holdings were being sold at suspicious discounts. Investment accounts were being drained. It wasn't just about separation, it was about complete financial extraction. The VA hospital where I worked became an unexpected source of support. My colleagues, many of them veterans who understood the complexities of family dynamics, began providing character references. They documented my consistent work supporting veteran mental health, my dedication to family support programs, my unwavering commitment to those who needed help. Harold, my retired detective neighbor, continued his meticulous documentation. He'd been tracking Sarah and Thompson's movements, collecting a comprehensive timeline of their actions, phone records, property transfers, suspicious meetings. Each piece of evidence added another layer to our understanding. Dr. Chen developed a communication strategy. We couldn't directly contact the children due to current court orders, but we could create opportunities for them to reach out. Care packages were carefully prepared, sent through approved channels. Each package contained subtle hints, personal touches that only a father would know. The most significant development came through Emma's school records. Her academic performance had dramatically declined since the move. Art projects became dark, filled with images of separation and loss. Her volleyball coach reported a marked change in her demeanor, a loss of the spark that had once defined her. Thompson's past began to unravel. Michael discovered a pattern of similar relationship destructions, 3 previous marriages, each ending with significant financial settlements. Each relationship followed a similar trajectory. Target a professional with stable income systematically. Extract financial resources, then move on. Our legal strategy shifted. We were no longer just fighting for custody. We were exposing a systematic pattern of emotional and financial manipulation. Each piece of evidence was carefully positioned, each testimony strategically presented. The breakthrough came during a supervised communication session. Jack, initially reluctant, began to open up. "Something doesn't feel right," he told the court-appointed counselor. "Dad was always there, even when he was deployed." Emma's resistance began to crack, small fissures in the narrative Sarah had constructed. Financial forensics became our most potent weapon. Detailed bank records showed a systematic draining of joint accounts. Transfers to shell companies, real estate transactions, hidden investment accounts, a complex web of financial manipulation emerged. Judge Hartman's patience was wearing thin. During a preliminary hearing, she questioned Sarah directly about the financial transfers. "Ms. Reese," she began, her voice cutting through the courtroom, "can you explain these transactions, these repeated patterns of financial extraction?" Sarah's carefully constructed composure began to crack. Thompson, sitting behind her, looked increasingly uncomfortable. The more they tried to explain, the more suspicious their actions appeared. The VE network became our secret weapon. Veterans from my unit, colleagues who understood the meaning of brotherhood, began providing discreet support. character references, documented communications, evidence of my consistent support for my children. Dr. Chen's psychological assessment became a turning point. The children are experiencing a sophisticated form of parental alienation, she testified. The emotional damage of such manipulation can be long-lasting and deeply traumatic. As the hearing concluded, the dynamics in the courtroom had shifted dramatically. Sarah and Thompson exchanged worried glances. Judge Hartman's expression suggested she saw through their carefully constructed narrative. The battle was far from over, but for the first time I saw a path forward, a way to reconnect with my children, to show them the truth, to fight for our family. Michael turned to me as we left the courthouse. "We're making progress," he said quietly, "but the real battle is just beginning." The final hearing arrived with the weight of months of preparation. The courthouse in Richmond felt like another battlefield, one where words were our weapons and evidence our ammunition. Michael and I had spent countless nights preparing, understanding that every detail mattered. Judge Hartman's courtroom was silent as Michael began presenting our comprehensive case. Bank records, psychological evaluations, communication logs, each piece of evidence meticulously documented the systematic dismantling of our family. The financial trail told a story far more damaging than simple divorce. Thompson's past began to unravel spectacularly. A series of expert witnesses testified to his pattern of relationship predation. Financial advisors revealed a consistent method of targeting professional women, extracting resources, then moving on to the next victim. Each testimony painted a picture of calculated manipulation. The most devastating evidence came from unexpected sources. Jack's school counselor provided detailed documentation of his emotional struggle. Emma's volleyball coach testified about her dramatic change in performance and demeanor. These weren't just character witnesses. They were windows into the true, emotional cost of Sarah's actions. Dr. Rebecca Chen's testimony became the psychological cornerstone of our case. "This is a clear case of parental alienation," she stated, her voice calm but firm. "The children have been systematically isolated from their father, subjected to a carefully constructed narrative designed to destroy their relationship." Financial. Forensics revealed a complex web of financial manipulation, transfers to shell companies, hidden real estate transactions, systematic draining of joint accounts. Each document told a story of calculated extraction. Thompson had a history of similar financial maneuvers, a pattern of targeting stable families for financial gain. The VA hospital where I worked provided a comprehensive character assessment. Colleagues testified to my consistent support of veteran mental health, my dedication to family support programs. My military record, previously used as a weapon against me, now became a shield of credibility. Harold's documentation proved crucial. His retired detective's precision had captured a timeline of suspicious activities, moving trucks, property transfers, communication patterns. Each piece of evidence added another layer to our understanding of the calculated separation. Sarah's lawyer attempted to mount a defense, but the evidence was overwhelming. Text messages, financial records, psychological assessments, each piece of documentation contradicted their narrative of a simple divorce. Thompson shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his carefully constructed facade beginning to crack. The most powerful moment came unexpectedly. Jack had been leaving coded messages in his schoolwork, mathematical equations that, when decoded, revealed his true feelings. "Dad, I miss you. Something feels wrong." It was a child's cry for help, bypassing the barriers his mother had constructed. Judge Oddman's questioning became increasingly pointed. She dissected Sarah's claims with surgical precision, exposing the inconsistencies in their story. Thompson's previous relationship patterns, the financial transfers, the systematic isolation of the children, each aspect was meticulously examined. The turning point came when text messages were presented as evidence. Conversations between Sarah and Thompson revealed a calculated plan to extract financial resources and separate the children from me. Jokes about removing me from their lives, discussions of financial strategies, the raw truth of their manipulation was laid bare. Michael's closing argument was a masterpiece of legal strategy. "This is not a divorce," he stated. "This is a calculated dismantling of a family unit, a systematic attempt to erase a father from his children's lives for financial gain." Thompson's facade began to crumble. Previous legal settlements, patterns of financial manipulation, a history of similar relationship destructions. Each piece of evidence painted him as a predatory opportunist rather than a supportive partner. The VA network became our most powerful ally. Veterans from my unit provided character references, documented my consistent support of my children. My military background, previously used as a weapon against me, became a testament to my stability and dedication. As Judge Hartman began to deliver her ruling, the courtroom fell silent. Sarah and Thompson exchanged worried glances, their carefully constructed narrative falling apart. The children watched from a separate area, their expressions a mix of confusion and hope. "Mr. Reese has demonstrated not just a legal right to custody," Judge Hartman began, "but a moral obligation to reconnect with his children." She methodically dismantled Sarah's claims, exposing the systematic manipulation that had separated our family. The ruling was comprehensive. Custody would be shared, with significant restrictions on Sarah and Thompson's interactions. Financial penalties were imposed. The children would undergo family therapy to begin the healing process. As we left the courthouse, Michael turned to me. "This is more than a legal victory," he said quietly. "This is about healing, about reconnecting." The real journey was just beginning, but for the first time in months, I could see a path forward, a way to rebuild, to reconnect with Emma and Jack, to show them the true meaning of family. The first supervised visitation felt like diffusing a complex emotional bomb. Emma and Jack sat across from me in a neutral counseling center, their body language a mixture of tension and hesitation. Dr. Chen had prepared us all, but nothing could fully prepare me for the moment of reconnection. Jack spoke first, his voice barely above a whisper. "Do you still have that model airplane we were building before?" He stopped, catching himself. The unfinished sentence hung in the air, a bridge between the life we'd lost and the possibility of rebuilding. Emma was more guarded. Her volleyball jacket, the one I'd helped her pick out 2 years ago, was pulled tight around her shoulders, a protective barrier, but I noticed something. The jacket was worn, clearly cherished, not discarded, not forgotten. The therapy sessions became our battlefield of healing. Dr. Chen guided us through conversations, helping us navigate the emotional minefield created by Sarah and Thompson's manipulation. Each session peeled back layers of hurt, of misunderstanding, of carefully constructed narratives. Jack's coded messages from his schoolwork became a point of breakthrough. We discovered he'd been leaving hidden communications, hoping someone would understand the complexity of his situation. Mathematical equations that, when decoded, revealed his true feelings. "I miss you. Something doesn't feel right." Emma's art became our unexpected language of reconnection. Her portfolio, filled with images of separation and loss, told a story more complex than words could express. Each painting was a window into her emotional journey. Fractured families, landscapes of isolation, subtle hints of hope. The VA support network became crucial in our healing process. Support groups for military families going through divorce, counseling programs specifically designed for veterans reconnecting with children. Each resource became a tool in our reconstruction. Harold, my retired detective neighbor, played an unexpected role. He began teaching Jack about photography, about observation, about understanding the world through careful documentation. It was more than a hobby. It was a way of rebuilding trust, of creating shared experiences. My military training became our unexpected ally in healing. I understood mission-based thinking. Set clear objectives, create a plan, execute with precision. Our mission now was family reconnection. Each interaction was carefully considered, each moment an opportunity to rebuild. The first weekend visitation was a delicate dance. We started with neutral activities, building that model airplane Jack had mentioned, working on a photography project Harold had introduced. Conversations were tentative, filled with pauses, with unspoken emotions. Jack's school counselor became an unexpected ally. She provided insights into his emotional journey, helped create communication strategies that bypassed the manipulation he'd experienced. Each piece of information was carefully considered, each interaction a step towards healing. Emma's volleyball became our unexpected bridge. I attended her matches, careful to maintain court-mandated distance, but she would glance towards the stands, a subtle acknowledgement. Her performance improved, a physical manifestation of emotional healing. The financial battles continued, but they became secondary to our family's emotional reconstruction. Thompson's pattern of manipulation became public, his previous relationship. Destructions exposed. Legal proceedings continued, but our focus was internal, was healing. Dr. Chen helped us understand the depth of parental alienation. This isn't just about a divorce, she explained during one family session. This is about systematically destroying a child's connection to a parent. The emotional damage can be long-lasting. Slowly, carefully, we began to rebuild. Weekend visits became longer, conversations became more natural. Jack started sharing his school projects, Emma her volleyball achievements. Each shared moment was a victory, a reclamation of the family bond. The VA support network provided resources beyond traditional counseling. Programs designed for military families navigating complex separations, support groups that understood the unique challenges of reconnection. Each resource became a tool in our healing. Harold continued to play a crucial role. Photography lessons with Jack, subtle life lessons about observation, about understanding complexity. It was more than mentorship. It was a way of showing Jack different perspectives, of rebuilding trust. My military background became our strength. Mission-oriented thinking, strategic approach to emotional healing. We set clear objectives, created plans, executed with the same precision I'd used in complex military operations. Our mission, family reconnection. As months passed, something shifted. Conversations became easier, shared experiences multiplied, the careful distance began to dissolve, replaced by something more genuine, more hopeful. The legal battles continued, but they became background noise. Our focus was internal, was healing. Thompson's manipulations were exposed, Sarah's actions documented, but our energy was directed inward, towards reconstruction. One evening, during a weekend visit, Jack looked up from a photography project. "Dad," he said, the word carrying years of unspoken emotion, "can you help me with this?" Emma, working on a volleyball strategy nearby, smiled almost imperceptibly. We were far from perfect, but we were rebuilding, and in that moment, that was enough. 1 year after the final court ruling, our family looked nothing like the broken unit Sarah and Thompson had tried to destroy. We'd found a new rhythm, a delicate balance of shared experiences and individual growth. The mountain cabin I'd purchased years ago became our sanctuary, a place of healing and reconnection. Emma's volleyball scholarship to the University of Virginia came with more than athletic recognition. It was a testament to her resilience, to the support system we'd rebuilt. Jack's photography had become more than a hobby. It was a language of emotional expression, a way of understanding the world that bridged our past and present. The VA support network that had been crucial to our healing continued to play a significant role. Support groups for military families, counseling programs designed for complex family reconstructions, each resource became a tool of continued growth. My experience became a beacon for other veterans navigating similar challenges. Thompson's pattern of manipulation finally caught up with him. A comprehensive investigation by state authorities revealed a systematic approach of financial predation. 3 previous relationships, multiple financial settlements, a calculated method of targeting stable families. His real estate license was revoked, his reputation permanently damaged. Sarah's life had transformed dramatically. The plea deal that followed the court proceedings left her with significant financial restrictions. Probation, mandatory counseling, limited contact with the children. The carefully constructed plan had collapsed under the weight of its own manipulation. Harold, my retired detective neighbor, had become more than a family friend. He'd become a mentor to Jack, teaching him about observation, about understanding complexity. Photography lessons became life lessons, subtle teachings about integrity, about seeing beyond surface appearances. My work with veteran support programs took on new meaning. Each counseling session, each support group meeting became an opportunity to share our story, not as a tale of victimization, but as a narrative of resilience, of family reconstruction. Emma and Jack became occasional speakers, sharing their perspective on healing. The mountain cabin became our annual retreat, a place of shared memories, of rebuilding. Each summer, we'd spend weeks together, hiking, photography expeditions, volleyball training. The landscape became a metaphor for our journey, challenging, beautiful, constantly changing. Jack's photography exhibition became a turning point, a collection documenting family resilience, complex emotions, the beauty of reconstruction. The local art community recognized more than technical skill. They saw a narrative of healing, of hope. Emma's volleyball team became more than an athletic pursuit. She became a leader, her experiences transforming her approach to team dynamics, to understanding complex human relationships. Coaches noted her unique perspective, her ability to see beyond surface-level interactions. The financial battles that had defined our initial separation became distant memories. Thompson's assets were frozen, his manipulative network exposed. Sarah was required to make restitution, her professional opportunities significantly limited. The legal system had provided a form of accountability neither of us had initially anticipated. My military network became our extended family, veterans who understood complex family dynamics, who had navigated similar challenges, support groups, counseling programs, resources that extended far beyond traditional family support structures. Dr. Chen continued to play a crucial role in our healing. Family therapy sessions evolved from structured interventions to more casual check-ins. The wounds were healing, the trust rebuilding. Each session revealed layers of emotional complexity, of mutual understanding. The VA hospital where I worked became a platform for sharing our story, not as a narrative of victimization, but as a testament to resilience. Emma and Jack occasionally spoke at veteran family support programs, sharing their perspective on healing, on reconstruction. Jack's passion for photography became a bridge to understanding. His exhibitions told stories of family complexity, of resilience. Local art communities recognized more than technical skill. They saw a narrative of emotional reconstruction, of hope. Emma's volleyball scholarship came with unexpected opportunities. Leadership programs, speaking engagements about family resilience. Her experiences had transformed her into a powerful advocate for complex family dynamics. Our annual mountain cabin retreat became a symbol of our reconstruction. Weeks spent together, hiking, photographing, training, sharing. The landscape mirrored our journey. Challenging, beautiful, constantly evolving, the support network we'd built extended far beyond traditional family structures. Veterans who understood complex separations, counseling programs designed for unique family challenges. Each resource became a tool of continued growth, of mutual understanding. As another year passed, we realized the true victory wasn't in legal battles or financial settlements. It was in the moments of shared laughter, in the quiet conversations, in the trust we'd carefully rebuilt. Emma preparing for her first college volleyball season, Jack planning his next photography exhibition. One evening, sitting on the mountain cabin porch, Jack looked up from his camera. "Dad," he said, the word carrying years of emotional complexity. "I'm glad we didn't give up." Emma, reviewing volleyball training videos nearby, smiled. "We weren't just a family reconstructed. We were a family transformed." 5 years had passed. Since the day that text message changed everything, our family had become a testament to resilience, to the power of persistence and love. The mountain cabin that had once been a distant dream was now the heart of our family's narrative, a symbol of reconstruction, of hope. Emma had graduated top of her volleyball team at the University of Virginia, her leadership skills honed through the challenges we'd overcome. Jack's photography had gained national recognition, his exhibitions telling stories of family complexity, of healing. They were no longer just my children. They were partners in our ongoing journey of understanding. The VA support network had transformed from a lifeline to a platform for broader change. Our story had become more than a personal narrative. It was a beacon for other military families navigating complex separations. Speaking engagements, support group workshops, documentaries exploring the intersection of military service, family dynamics, and resilience. Thompson's final legal downfall came unexpectedly. A comprehensive federal investigation exposed his pattern of financial manipulation, multiple lawsuits from previous victims, criminal charges of fraud, and emotional manipulation. His carefully constructed life collapsed under the weight of systematic predation. Sarah's life had become a cautionary tale. Limited professional opportunities, mandatory counseling, financial restrictions. The calculated plan that had seemed so perfect had dismantled her own life more effectively than any legal intervention could have. Harold, now more of a family patriarch than a neighbor, continued to play a crucial role in our lives. His detective's wisdom, his understanding of complex human dynamics, had become a guiding force for Jack's approach to photography, to understanding human relationships. My work with veteran support programs had expanded beyond traditional counseling. We developed comprehensive programs addressing family reconstruction, emotional resilience, navigating complex personal challenges. Emma and Jack became occasional speakers, sharing their unique perspective. The annual mountain cabin retreat had become a sacred tradition. Weeks of shared experiences, hiking, photography expeditions, volleyball training. Each year, the landscape seemed to reflect our journey, challenging, beautiful, constantly evolving. Jack's photography had become more than an art form. It was a language of emotional exploration. Exhibitions that explored family dynamics, the complexity of human relationships, the beauty of reconstruction. Major galleries had taken notice, recognizing the depth beyond technical skill. Emma's volleyball career had taken unexpected turns. Not just an athlete, but a leader, a speaker on family resilience, on overcoming complex personal challenges. Her experiences had transformed her approach to team dynamics, to understanding human potential. The financial battles that had defined our initial separation were now distant memories. Our focus had shifted from legal challenges to personal growth, to understanding, to building something meaningful. Dr. Chen's ongoing support had been crucial. What began as formal therapy had evolved into a friendship, a continued exploration of family dynamics, of emotional reconstruction. Her expertise had been instrumental in our healing, in understanding the deeper layers of our experience. My military network had become an extended family, veterans who understood complex separations, who had navigated similar challenges. Our story had become a resource, a beacon of hope for those facing seemingly insurmountable personal challenges. The VA hospital where I worked had transformed. Our experience had influenced support programs, approached family dynamics with a more holistic understanding. Emma and Jack occasionally spoke at veteran support conferences, sharing their perspective on healing, on resilience. Technology became an unexpected ally in our reconstruction. Video calls, shared digital albums, online collaboration on Jack's photography projects. Distance was no longer a barrier. It was an opportunity for connection. Our legal victories had become secondary to our emotional reconstruction. The true win was in the moments of shared understanding, in the trust we'd carefully rebuilt, in the way Emma and Jack had transformed their pain into purpose. Jack's latest photography exhibition explored the concept of family reconstruction. Images that captured moments of healing, of complex emotional landscapes. Each photograph told a story of resilience, of hope beyond trauma. Emma had begun working with veteran support programs, developing leadership workshops for military families, navigating complex personal challenges. Her experiences had become a platform for broader understanding, for systemic change. The mountain cabin had become more than a physical space. It was a metaphor for our journey, a place of healing, of reconstruction, of continuous growth. Each visit revealed new layers of our shared experience. Our story had become more than a personal narrative. It was a resource for other military families, a testament to the power of persistence, of love. Speaking engagements, support group workshops, documentaries exploring family resilience. As another year approached, we realized the true victory wasn't in legal battles or financial settlements. It was in the moments of shared laughter, in the quiet conversations, in the trust we'd carefully rebuilt. One evening, preparing for Jack's latest photography exhibition, Emma looked at me. "Dad," she said, her voice carrying years of emotional complexity. "We did it. We became something stronger." Jack, adjusting his camera nearby, smiled. We weren't just a family reconstructed. We were a family redefined. 10 years had passed since that fateful text message that had threatened to destroy our family. The mountain cabin that once symbolized our fragile hope now stood as a monument to our resilience, our transformation. Jack, now an internationally recognized documentary photographer, and Emma, a leadership consultant specializing in veteran family support, had become more than my children. They were my partners in a mission larger than ourselves. The national speaking circuit had become our unexpected platform. Our story, once a private battle, now served as a beacon of hope for military families navigating complex personal challenges. Workshops, documentaries, support programs, we transformed our pain into a collective healing journey. Mark Thompson's final legal defeat came as a culmination of years of investigation. Federal authorities had meticulously documented his pattern of financial and emotional manipulation, multiple lawsuits, criminal charges, a comprehensive exposure of a systematic predator. His carefully constructed life had been dismantled piece by piece, much like he had attempted to do to our family. Sarah's life had become a study in consequences. Limited professional opportunities, mandatory counseling, financial restrictions that would follow her for years. The calculated plan that had seemed so perfect had ultimately destroyed her own future more effectively than any external intervention. Harold, now in his late 70s, remained our family's patriarch. His detective's wisdom had become a fundamental in part of our family's narrative. Jack's approach to documentary photography, Emma's leadership strategies, both bore the subtle imprint of Harold's lessons about observation, about understanding human complexity. The V support network we'd helped develop had become a comprehensive resource for military families. Programs addressing emotional resilience, family reconstruction, navigating complex personal challenges. Our personal story had become a blueprint for institutional change. Jack's documentary photography had evolved into a powerful medium of storytelling. His exhibitions explored complex human narratives, family dynamics, resilience, the invisible, wounds of personal trauma. Major international galleries now sought his work, recognizing the depth beyond mere visual representation. Emma had founded a leadership consultancy focused on veteran family support. Her programs combined personal experience with professional expertise, helping military families navigate complex personal challenges. She'd become a sought-after speaker, her insights transforming institutional approaches to family support. Our annual mountain cabin retreat had become a sacred tradition of healing and growth. Each year brought new layers of understanding, of shared experiences. The landscape continued to mirror our journey, challenging, beautiful, constantly evolving. The financial battles that had once consumed us were now distant memories. We'd redirected that energy into building something meaningful, something that could help others navigate similar challenges. Dr. Chen, who had been instrumental in our initial healing, had become more than a therapist. She was a trusted advisor, a documentarian of our family's transformation. Her research on family reconstruction had become a significant contribution to family psychology. My work with veteran support programs had expanded beyond traditional boundaries. We'd created comprehensive approaches to family support, addressing the complex emotional landscapes of military families. Emma and Jack continued to be integral parts of this mission. Technology had become an unexpected ally in our continued connection. Collaborative projects, shared digital archives, video conferences that bridged physical distances. Our family had learned to transform potential separation into opportunities for deeper connection. Jack's latest documentary project explored the complex narratives of military families. Interviews, photographic essays, a multimedia exploration of resilience. His work had become a form of collective healing, giving voice to experiences often left unspoken. Emma's leadership consulting had expanded internationally. Programs designed for military families, corporate leadership teams, organizations dealing with complex personal and professional challenges. Her approach was deeply personal, rooted in our family's journey of reconstruction. The legal victories we'd achieved had become secondary to our emotional reconstruction. Our true triumph was in the moments of shared understanding, in the trust we'd carefully rebuilt, in the way we'd transformed our pain into purpose. Harold's health was declining, but his impact on our family remained profound. Jack had begun documenting his life story, a photographic biography that captured decades of detective work, of wisdom, of human understanding. Our story had become more than a personal narrative. It was a resource, a platform for broader understanding, speaking engagements, support group workshops, documentaries that explored the complexities of family resilience, of military life. The VA hospital where I'd worked had transformed its approach to family support. Our experience had influenced institutional strategies, approached family dynamics with a more holistic understanding. Emma and Jack continued to be integral to these evolving programs. As another year approached, we realized the true victory wasn't in legal battles or financial settlements. It was in the moments of shared laughter, in the quiet conversations, in the trust we'd carefully rebuilt, in the lives we'd touched beyond our own family. One evening, preparing for Jack's latest documentary exhibition, Emma looked at me. Her eyes carried the same determination, the same resilience that had defined our journey. "Dad," she said, "we've become something more than we ever imagined." Jack, adjusting his camera, captured the moment, a photograph of resilience, of transformation, of a family that had not just survived, but had found purpose in its healing. We weren't just a family reconstructed, we were a legacy of hope. 15 years had passed since the day that seemingly destructive text message had altered the trajectory of our lives. What had begun as a personal battle of family survival had transformed into a global movement of healing, understanding, and resilience. The International Center for Family Reconstruction, founded by Emma and Jack, had become a groundbreaking institution. Located in a sprawling campus outside Washington, D.C., the center brought together experts from psychology, military support, family dynamics, and technological innovation. Our family's journey had become a blueprint for understanding complex family challenges across multiple disciplines. Jack's documentary work had evolved into a comprehensive multimedia platform. The Reconnection Project documented stories of families navigating extreme challenges, military separations, emotional trauma, systemic manipulation. His work had been recognized by the United Nations as a critical resource for understanding family resilience in challenging environments. Emma's leadership consulting had transformed into a global initiative. Her methodologies, developed from our personal experience, were now used by military organizations, corporate leadership programs, and international peace-building initiatives. Governments and multinational corporations sought her insights on rebuilding trust, navigating complex interpersonal dynamics. The VA support network we'd helped develop had become a comprehensive global resource. Programs addressing emotional resilience, family reconstruction, and complex personal challenges now existed in multiple countries. Military families from around the world found support, guidance, and hope through the resources we'd helped create. Mark Thompson's complete legal and personal downfall had become a landmark case in financial and emotional predation. His systematic manipulation of multiple families had been comprehensively documented, leading to significant legal reforms, protecting vulnerable individuals from similar exploitation. Sarah's life had become a cautionary narrative studied in psychology and social work programs. Her choices had become a critical case study in family dynamics, emotional manipulation, and the long-term consequences of systemic betrayal. Harold, in his final years, had become a revered mentor figure. Jack had completed a comprehensive documentary about his life, a testament to a lifetime of detective work, of understanding human complexity. His wisdom continued to influence our work, his legacy living on through our mission. The Mountain Cabin, now expanded into a comprehensive retreat center, had become more than a family sanctuary. It was a healing space for military families, a place of transformation, of reconnection. Workshops, support programs, healing retreats, all built on the foundation of our personal journey. Dr. Chen's research, initially sparked by our family's experience, had become a groundbreaking field of study. Her work on family reconstruction, on healing from complex emotional trauma, was now taught in psychology programs worldwide. Our personal journey had become an academic and therapeutic breakthrough. Technological innovations had transformed how families reconnect. Platforms developed from our experiences now help families navigate separation, overcome manipulation, rebuild trust. Communication technologies, psychological support systems, legal resources, all informed by our journey. Jack's photographic and documentary work had become a global language of healing. Exhibitions, multimedia installations, educational resources that explored the complexity of human relationships. Major museums around the world featured his work, telling stories of resilience, of transformation. Emma's leadership consulting had expanded into global peace-building initiatives. Her methodologies for rebuilding trust, for navigating complex interpersonal challenges, were now used in conflict resolution, in international diplomacy. Our family's journey had become a metaphor for larger societal healing. The VA hospital. Support programs we'd helped develop had become a comprehensive global resource. Approaches to veteran family support, to understanding complex emotional landscapes, had been revolutionized. Our personal experience had transformed institutional approaches to family support. Our story had become more than a personal narrative. It was a comprehensive platform for understanding human resilience. Speaking engagements, global conferences, educational programs that explored the depths of family reconstruction, of overcoming systemic challenges. Jack's latest global project explored intergenerational trauma and healing, documenting families across different cultures, different challenges, finding common threads of resilience. His work had become a bridge between personal experience and global understanding. Emma had begun working with international organizations on family support initiatives, programs designed for military families, for communities navigating complex personal challenges. Her approach combined personal experience with comprehensive institutional strategy. The legal victories we'd achieved had become a catalyst for broader systemic change. Our true triumph was in the way we'd transformed our pain into a global platform for understanding, for healing, for reconnection. Our annual family gathering had expanded, no longer just a personal retreat, but a gathering of families we'd supported, of individuals who had found hope through our journey. The mountain cabin now hosted a global community of healing. As another decade approached, we realized the true victory wasn't in personal achievement, but in the lives we'd touched, in the systemic changes we'd initiated. Our family had become a living testament to the power of resilience, of transformation. One evening, preparing for a global conference on family reconstruction, Emma looked at me. Her eyes carried the same determination that had defined our journey. "Dad," she said, "we've become something far beyond what we ever imagined." Jack, documenting the moment, captured more than a photograph. He captured a legacy of hope, of transformation, of a family that had not just survived, but had reshaped understanding itself. We weren't just a family reconstructed. We were a global movement of healing. 20 years had passed since that moment. That could have destroyed our family. Looking back, that text message at 2:30 a.m. was not an ending, but a beginning. The first tremor of a transformation that would reshape not just our lives, but the lives of thousands around the world. The International Center for Family Reconstruction now stood as a global beacon of hope. What began as our personal struggle had become a comprehensive platform for understanding human resilience, for healing families torn apart by complexity, by betrayal, by systemic challenges. Our journey had become more than a personal narrative. It was a comprehensive movement of healing, of understanding, of transformation. From military families to corporate leaders, from communities navigating personal challenges to international peace-building initiatives, our story had become a blueprint for reconnection. Jack's documentary work had evolved into a global language of healing. His multimedia installations, his comprehensive storytelling had become a bridge between personal experience and collective understanding. Museums around the world featured his work, telling stories of resilience that transcended individual experiences. Emma's leadership consulting had become a global framework for understanding human potential. Her methodologies, developed through our family's journey, were now used in conflict resolution, in organizational transformation, in understanding the deepest complexities of human relationships. The technology we developed had transformed how families reconnect. Communication platforms, support systems, legal resources, all born from our experience of navigating seemingly insurmountable challenges. Our pain had become a pathway to innovation. Mark Thompson's complete downfall had become a landmark case. In understanding systemic manipulation, legal reforms, protective mechanisms, comprehensive investigations, our experience had reshaped how society understands and protects vulnerable individuals. Harold's legacy continued through the mentor programs we'd established. His detective's wisdom, his understanding of human complexity, now guided new generations of investigators, of family support specialists, of those committed to understanding deeper human narratives. Dr. Chen's research had revolutionized understanding of family dynamics, of emotional reconstruction. What began as our personal therapy had become a comprehensive field of study, transforming how psychology approaches family healing, emotional resilience. The mountain cabin, now a global retreat center, had become more than a physical space. It was a symbol of transformation, of the possibility of healing. Families from around the world came to find hope, to understand their own potential for reconnection. Our annual gatherings had transformed into global conferences, no longer just a family reunion, but a gathering of those who had found hope through our journey. Thousands of families, of individuals, connected through our story of resilience. Jack's latest global project explored the deepest layers of human connection, documenting families across cultures, across challenges, finding the universal threads of resilience, of hope. His work had become a global language of understanding. Emma's initiatives had expanded into comprehensive global support systems, programs that addressed the most complex human challenges, from military family support to international conflict resolution. Our personal journey had become a global movement of healing. The VA support network we'd helped develop had become a comprehensive global resource. Approaches to supporting families, to understanding complex emotional landscapes, had been completely transformed. Our experience had reshaped institutional understanding. As I reflected on our journey, I realized our true victory was not in legal battles, not in financial settlements, but in the lives we'd touched, in the systemic changes we'd initiated, in the hope we'd generated. Jack, now a renowned global documentarian, continued to capture stories of resilience. Emma, a global leadership consultant, continued to transform how organizations understand human potential. Our children had become more than survivors. They had become architects of hope. To those watching, to those who have experienced betrayal, separation, seemingly insurmountable challenges, this is our message. Your story is not over. Your pain is not your final chapter. Every challenge is an opportunity for transformation. We invite you to join our journey, to be part of a global community of healing, of resilience, of hope. Subscribe to our channel, follow our journey, share your story, because your story of reconnection, of transformation, is waiting to be told. This is more than a story. This is a movement, and it starts with you.